Welcome to Advocate Today. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. Acclaimed producer and director Silas Howard is telling meaningful stories and providing LGBTQ plus visibility in his projects. He's an out trans man and believes that representation can have a profound impact. I went one-on-one with Silas to discuss how his most recent project, Darby and the Dead, is doing just that. Silas, I want to begin by noting By Hook or by Crook, which you wrote in 2001. And this was a really revelatory film about, transmasculine folks, or, that featured transmasculine folks. And I wonder, you've had such an incredible career. That's 22 years ago now. Would you talk a bit about some of the differences and similarities you've seen in the industry from By Hook or by Crook through to Darby and the Dead?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that question because, that film has 22 years ago. Oh my God.
Right?
I put myself into my youth, you know.
Hmm.
But no, it's that film has resurfaced quite steadily. It just played at Outfest for the 20th year anniversary of DGA last summer. The Motion Picture Academy is going to be screening it next summer, and played at Metrograph, a lot of festivals, and it's taught at universities. And it's interesting because when we were at Sundance in 2001, there wasn't really any language. We were trying to carve out space. But we really wanted to show a film about a friendship. And this year at Sundance, I was executive producer on a film called Mutt, which is a wonderful director who also is transmasculine. And his other reference, besides his film, was my film that many years ago. And the difference is the reception that they've gotten. His actor got an award at Sundance. It's
Yeah.
amazing to watch, having worked on Transparent and Pose, and I
Mhm.
mean, so many shows, really, to see the language evolve, the identity, just it's such a myriad of people, and it's such a really rich world. And yeah, it's been quite a journey from our movie then, and it holds up quite well. It seems like we shot it on digital, so it's like early digital, very yeah. But anyway,
Yeah. No, I love that. Well, thank you. And so Darby and the Dead came out on Hulu in December, and it's really a wonderful, like, teen romantic comedy, sort of friendship comedy. It's very much in the vein of a Clueless, or like that, except you have queer actors who are just in the mix, and then you have a trans character who's just existing in this world. And I think that's incredible. And of course, that's Nicole Maines playing this character. And would you talk a little bit about how that moves storytelling forward, to just have someone existing in their authenticity without making a big meal out of it?
yeah, I'm so glad you asked. It's because starting with By Hook or Crook, we really wanted to show characters without explaining them. That we don't live in a world where we're constantly explaining ourselves, and that kind of puts the audience at a disadvantage. With Darby and the Dead, it's a movie about you know a teenager who's an outsider, and who is dealing with you know uh, issues that she's dealing with, helping the dead cross over. But really, we wanted it to reflect this world that we live in now. So it's a diverse world, and with Nicole's character, and it's a big deal. It's a big deal to have the lead character be black and also be an outsider and wear Converse. And there's been such a great response from the young kids about having that reflected back to them. And with Nicole, we really got to decide between the two of us how her character would be out or not. Her character was definitely queer, but I wanted to have a conversation with her about if her character was out, and if so, how. And so when we were doing the filming the scene in the girls' locker room, we were both like, it's a little too hard to resist that. And this very simple best friend asking for the tampon. Her character's always on her cell phone and just without looking up just says still trans. The best friend, that's right, and turns. But we talked about all of it at
Yeah.
length. It takes a lot of talk or a lot of thought to do something that feels kind of effortless. And
Hmm.
yeah, it felt like a big deal, having been on a number of sets, that she and I got to figure that out together with the full support of the producers in the studio.
Yeah, it was such a great moment, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because, of course, that was, what I was thinking of. And Darby and the Dead is, I don't know, it's just such a seamless teen show, or film rather. And Would you talk a little bit about making this? It's just so easy to watch and, digestible, and it's about friendships and loss and so much. But it's just really such a lovely film to, get eyes on and watch.
And yeah, I think of it as a very queer film, even
Mm.
though only one of the characters is overtly queer, but there's a sort of queer aesthetic throughout it. And
Yeah.
I feel like I really enjoy comedy that has high stakes. And so, I think comedy has higher stakes, not lower stakes. And dealing with a taboo subject like grief and loss, and having humor around dealing with the, unfathomable, really, for many. Uh, it just felt like an important thing, and that ultimately it was about a friendship. I think almost all of my work centers around, in particular, female friendships and the power that can come out of that, and the way that they find themselves through each other, and the way they show up for each other is really, exciting. Plus, there's ghosts and there's cool, you know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that must be why it really resonates with me because, I mean, female friendship is my kind of thing, my raison d'etre. So I really appreciated the film. And, you have this incredible, like, body of work. Would you talk a bit about working on these groundbreaking, and that just feels like an overused term at this point, but
Yeah,
transparent and pose are, they changed culture.
yeah, it was really amazing because when I reached out to Soloway on Facebook to
Mhm.
meet up about, because I'd heard about Transparent, and I knew some of the writers that they were working with, and they were outside of the TV system, and so I was already interested in that. And so it was amazing to go and watch this world be built that was very much based on a world that I knew, artists that I knew, friends that I knew. And I guess like I broke into TV on that show, but also TV kind of broke into us, and it
Mm.
really queer show, and it was so riveting. Yeah, it changed it really changed the game. It felt like,
Mhm.
um, and the way that they pushed for me, because it's always hard to get. I really push for giving directors that break, or really walking the walk with inclusivity, and being authentic with storytelling. And then with Pose, it was amazing because we learn about characters by their relationships to others. So if it's a gay person, or the only trans person, or the only BIPOC person, they're going to be outside of the circle. And Pose had 5 trans women of color who were in relationship, and they could be awful and wonderful and show up for each other and break each other's hearts. And that's TV. I mean, that's storytelling. And I've watched stories that were not centered on my experience, but if they were told well and authentically, I love them. And so that math works for everybody else as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree, absolutely. Well, yeah, thank you for that. And then you executive produced and directed some of one of my favorite series of the past few years, which is Dickinson. That show, my God. Would you talk a bit about working on that show, which, updated Emily Dickinson's story and handed back a narrative to her that she wasn't allowed in her lifetime, which was a queer story. And of course, stars Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a wrap gift from Haley. This is the Dickinson family in a needlepoint, needlepoint art. But
Oh,
it for anybody that is unfamiliar, it's a reimagining of Emily Dickinson as a rebellious, very self-possessed goth teenager. And Elena Smith created it, and it's just brilliant. And it's a half-hour period comedy that deals with misogyny, racism, classism, and our third season was set in the Civil War. I mean, it just takes bold risks and looks at the past as present, looks at how much we're still battling these things today. And but does it with, I always feel like you have to laugh with the difficult and painful things in life in order to, just a way to connect. But yeah, it's so brilliant, and Haley's phenomenal in it. And yeah, I fell in love. I really did, got to deep dive into Emily's poems, because they weave them in so beautifully with the show.
thank you so much to Silas for stopping by. He's incredibly talented, and I'm a big fan of what he stands for. We'll have more from Silas coming up. In the meantime, you can open the Advocate channel on YouTube for more of my full interviews. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. I'll see you next time.